In 2019, the Trump administration blacklisted Huawei over spying concerns, nearly knocking it out of the global smartphone game. Now, they're leading the charge for China's quest for tech independence, challenging the West on multiple fronts. But what does this mean for the balance of power between the US and China in the tech arena? Fast forward to 2020, and the Federal Communications Commission doubled down, labeling Huawei and its Chinese counterpart ZTE as national security threats and even ordering US carriers to remove their equipment. But this wasn't just about security, it soon evolved into a full-blown battle for technological supremacy. The value of Apple's stock dropped significantly. It's on a path to lose $200 billion in just 2 days. This drop happened because China is considering a ban on iPhones for government-related organizations and state-owned companies. Greater China, which includes Hong Kong and Taiwan, is the third largest market for Apple, making up 18% of its total revenue, which amounted to $394 billion. This region is also where the majority of Apple products are made. Apple's success largely depends on China, and if the government there gets tougher, it could be a big problem not only for Apple but also for many other huge tech companies that count on China. In Apple's most recent quarter, which ended in June, Greater China sales increased 8% on an annual basis to $15.76 billion. It was Apple's fastest-growing region. The timing of the potential ban is intriguing, especially given Huawei's recent launch of a high-end 5G-capable smartphone. Just last week, several Chinese retailers began accepting orders for Huawei's new phone, the Mate 60 Pro, sparking a buzz on social media across the country. This phone starts at 6,900 renminbi, which is approximately $954, and interestingly, it's powered by a chip manufactured by Huawei's chip subsidiary, HiSilicon. Early tests indicate that the phone can tap into 5G speeds, even though Huawei's official specification pages don't mention this capability. It's essential to note that Huawei found itself on the U.S. Entity List back in 2019 due to concerns that its technology could potentially provide the Chinese government with backdoor access to communications. This move placed significant restrictions on Huawei's business dealings, requiring U.S. companies like Google and Qualcomm to obtain permission from the U.S. government before supplying Huawei. These sanctions hit Huawei's phone business hard, especially after it had been on the rise prior to the sanctions. As a result, Huawei had to spin off some of its phone brands and faced a substantial $12 billion shortfall back in 2019. Huawei's new phone has a chip, manufactured on China's mainland, that uses the 7-nanometer production process. Smaller production processes tend to translate to faster and more efficient chips. This year's upcoming iPhone is expected to use a 3-nanometers process, manufactured by Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and Apple first went with a 7-nanometers process to make its A12 chips, which were used in new iPhones in 2018. But Huawei's chip raises questions about how well separate restrictions on chip manufacturing technology, which aim to prevent Chinese companies from making cutting-edge processors, are working. We've got another plot twist involving South Korean memory giant SK hynix. Even though they've been insisting they haven't sold any products to Huawei since the US sanctions in 2020, Tech Insights has discovered that SK hynix's LPDDR5 memory is right there in the Mate Pro 60. Industry insiders said it was possible that Huawei had purchased the memory chips from the secondary market and not directly from the manufacturer. And that's not all, Huawei is turning up the heat with their latest smartphone launches. Apple's got some serious competition on its hands. Apple's success largely depends on China, and if the government there gets tougher, it could be a big problem not only for Apple but also for many other huge tech companies that count on China. The timing of the potential ban is intriguing, especially given Huawei's recent launch of a high-end 5G-capable smartphone. Huawei, once the target of US sanctions, is now China's secret weapon in this high-stakes tech rivalry. It's a race to see who will dominate the future. Will Huawei make a comeback?